Municipalities are rarely punished for what they communicate. They're punished for what they don't. Silence is no longer neutral. After episodes 2 and 3, this is where consequences of design choices become impossible to ignore. Welcome back to A Blueprint for Building Public Trust. I'm Kent Waugh. Today we're talking about silence, not as absence, but as a message. Every day, municipalities across Canada invest millions in infrastructure, services, and long-term planning. Roads, facilities, water systems, housing, climate adaptation, and many hesitate to invest meaningfully in one thing that makes all of it work better: communication. Inside City Hall, silence often feels responsible. Nothing new to share yet. Let's wait until it's finalized. We don't want to confuse people. We'll explain it later. I understand that instinct, but here's the reality. When residents don't hear from you, they don't feel reassured. They feel uncertain. And uncertainty doesn't stay empty for long. It gets filled by speculation, by assumptions, by social media narratives. This is the same vacuum we saw earlier when the silent majority disengages, only now the cost becomes visible. There was a time when silence bought time, when waiting felt strategic. That time has passed. Today, silence doesn't buy time, it creates doubt. Here's the truth many organizations don't want to hear. We're not being punished for what we communicate. We're being punished for what we don't. Every delayed update, every unexplained pause, each one quietly withdraws from the trust account. I often talk about what I call trust credits. They're earned through presence, small updates, predictable rhythm. When residents understand the why, they give you the room on the how. These trust credits are what make the return on trust visible, which we'll explore directly in the next episode. Municipalities that communicate well don't wait until everything is resolved. They acknowledge early, they stabilize expectations. Residents stop guessing. Communication is not a department, it's a leadership responsibility. Without leadership alignment, silence persists. If trust is the currency of local government, then silence is one of the most expensive things you can afford. If this episode resonates, share it with leaders who feel the weight of saying the wrong thing. In the next episode, we'll talk about why trust isn't just emotional, it's operational, and why it delivers a measurable return.